You're listening to Into the Disappearing, the podcast where we explore the people who vanish and the unsettling mysteries they leave behind. I'm Marin Blake. Tonight we return to the heart of the McDonald Forest near Sheridan, Oregon, a place that has become synonymous with disappearances. In past episodes, we discussed the mysterious cases of Sarah Williams, Brian Holt, and Jessica Drew, who vanished in this same forest. But today, we focus on a new disturbing development. Over the past year, strange occurrences have surged, and 3 more people have gone missing in the same woods. These are not just disappearances. They seem connected by an unsettling pattern, and the clues left behind are chilling. This is episode 19. The Three Pines Return to the Forest. It's been almost a year since we last discussed the McDonald Forest disappearances. The forest, which had already gained a reputation for being unnaturally silent, had claimed 3 lives, each under mysterious circumstances. The town of Sheridan has been living in fear, and the local authorities, despite their best efforts, are no closer to an answer. But something has changed. Over the past few months, reports have surfaced of strange sounds in the woods, noises like whispers, scratching, and tapping on trees, accompanied by sightings of eerie lights moving between the pines at night. Even more unsettling are the strange marks that have appeared on the trunks of trees. Wide, circular gouges, deep and unnaturally symmetrical. Then, just last October, another disappearance occurred. This time, a local historian, Raymond Clark, went missing. Raymond was a well-known figure in Sheridan, a man obsessed with the history of the area. He had spent years researching the origins of the McDonald Forest, its early settlers, and the strange events that had occurred over the centuries. On the night he disappeared, Raymond was supposed to meet with a group of locals at the town's historical society to share new findings about the area's history. When he didn't arrive, they assumed he was running late, until the next morning when his car was found parked at the edge of the forest. Raymond's journals, which he had taken with him, were scattered across the front seat. The pages were filled with disturbing drawings and cryptic notes, references to the 3 Pines and a strange figure he had come to call the Watcher. The search for Raymond began the moment his car was found, but again, the forest gave up no answers. Volunteers, search dogs, and drones all scoured the same stretch of woods where previous disappearances had occurred, but Raymond was never found. But what they did find, however, was even more chilling. The search team found a grove of 3 massive pine trees, larger and older than any others in the forest. The area around them seemed unnaturally still, with a heavy, oppressive silence hanging in the air. Near the base of one of the trees was a small, hand-carved totem, a figure resembling a man with elongated arms, surrounded by a ring of what appeared to be animal bones. Authorities dismissed it as a crude prank, but something about the find unsettled the locals. The carving resembled the one found near the ridge where Brian Holt had disappeared, and the bones, some of them too small for known local wildlife, seemed to suggest something far older, far more unsettling. The more the townspeople thought about it, the more they began to realize that Raymond's disappearance wasn't random. It was connected to something deeper in the forest, something tied to the history of those 3 towering pines. I spoke to Claire Jenkins, a local historian who had known Raymond for years. She told me that Raymond had always been fascinated with a forgotten legend among the early settlers. The legend spoke of a group of 3 pines in the center of the forest, tall, ancient trees that had stood as silent sentinels for centuries. Some believed the trees marked the site of a forgotten burial ground, where the original settlers had placed their dead during a long winter. Others said they were markers for something far more sinister, an ancient pact made with an entity that lived beneath the forest.
He wasn't just researching history. Raymond was obsessed with the idea that something in the forest was alive. He said the 3 pines were key. He started talking about them like they were watching him, waiting for him. At first, I thought it was just another one of his theories, but after he disappeared, I wonder if he knew something we didn't.
Then, in December of 2020, a second disappearance occurred. This time, a local wildlife biologist named Emma Dawson. Emma had been working to study the forest's ecology and had spent hours in the woods collecting data on plant and animal life. She was an experienced field researcher who had spent years working in remote forests, but this time, something changed. Emma was last seen at 3 p.m. near the edge of the same grove of 3 pines where Raymond had disappeared. She had planned to take soil samples and gather data on a cluster of rare moss growing in the area. Her team called her phone when she didn't return by 6 p.m., but they received no answer. By the time the search began, it was already dark. Search crews were dispatched, and by morning they found Emma's equipment abandoned at the base of the trees. The soil samples were still in her bag. Her gloves were neatly folded beside the moss patch she'd been studying. But Emma was gone. This time, there were more witnesses. Some of the searchers reported hearing faint whispers in the trees, soft, unintelligible voices that seemed to come from the forest itself. Others saw what they described as a faint glow beneath the canopy, just at the edge of their vision. But when they investigated, there was nothing there. When Emma's body was never found, rumors began to swirl that the disappearances were tied to an old curse. People began to talk of the Watcher, a figure who was said to be the guardian of the forest, a being who would protect its secrets at all costs. And then, just a few weeks ago, another person vanished. This time, it was a local photographer named Ben Foster. Ben had been hiking alone, photographing wildlife when he stumbled across the same grove of 3 pines. He had heard the rumors and was curious about the place where so many had gone missing, but Ben never returned. When his body was found, it was just a few hundred yards from the grove. His camera had been crushed underfoot, its lens shattered. The only image remaining on the memory card was a single photograph. The 3 towering pines standing in stark silhouette against the blood-red sky of a setting sun. In the image, something dark and shadowed seemed to linger in the space between the trees. A figure, perhaps, but the photograph was too distorted to tell for sure. These recent disappearances, Raymond, Emma, and Ben, are unlike the others. They've all been linked to the same grove of 3 pines, a place where the land seems to swallow people whole, leaving nothing behind but whispers and strange markings. Some say it's the work of an ancient spirit. Others believe it's something much darker, something tied to the land itself. But one thing is certain. The forest has taken these people, just as it has taken others before them. If you have any information about the disappearances of Raymond Clark, Emma Dawson, or Ben Foster, or if you've seen anything unusual near the 3 pines, contact the Yamhill County Sheriff's Office. Next week, we head to the abandoned mines of Colorado, where the screams of miners long dead are still said to echo through the tunnels. Until then, I'm Marin Blake. Stay aware, stay away from the pines, and if you see something watching you from between the trees, don't blink.
When the night gets bright and the stars align, we stir up dreams in cosmic time. A little stardust, a little tune, you're mixing it with the moon.